There he is. Welcome, Paul Peterson. How are you today?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
Awesome, awesome, doing well. Thank you for joining us today again on Lending with Purpose. Paul, these are conversations that we have with our clients and our friends, introductions to various forms of information and professionals like yourself and resources that we use, like you have an amazing resource, and that we look for that we never knew existed or wanted to learn more about. And so, I think right before we got started, I was like, I was kind of telling you a little bit, Paul, about how we got started with doing
hmm
lending with purpose. And I said, you know what? I'll just make that my opening because I don't have any cool coffee stories. I'm sure you will. Um, and I'll get into that in a second too as well
Of
because I'm
course.
I'm a fairly new coffee drinker,
Okay.
just over like maybe the last 2 years or so, but 3 years I would say. And so at the beginning of the pandemic, right before Paul, I had this great idea that I wanted to do some sort of a lounge in the basement,
hmm
right? And I was going to because our kids were getting older, they're starting to play sports and stuff with their friends, and we're getting to meet new parents and such. And
hmm
so we're not ones that like go out on the town and go to bars and drink and things like that. So I'm like, all right, we'd have the kids over with their parents, and how cool will it be, Paul, if we're in my dining room or at the kitchen table or at the island, and we're maybe having a drink or something like that, and we get into this great conversation. And it's like, you know what? Let's take this downstairs and let's record it.
I
And
love it.
so I bought this equipment and everything and built sort of like this little podcast lounge,
hmm
because that was my idea of getting some entertainment going. And so um, then, like, I don't know, maybe 2 weeks later, after I did this work and got it done, um, the emergency of a world health crisis and the pandemic started, and so we were in the house, and Paul started to get all these phone calls like, hey Shawn, what happens if I lose my job and
Sure.
I can't pay my bills? How's it going to affect my credit? You
hmm
know, hey Shawn, we're being homeschooled. Now we're having to do homeschooling, and we've never done this before. How
Sure.
are you doing it? And you know anybody that you can connect me with that maybe can answer some of these questions? And so I kept getting these calls and such, Paul. And so I was just like, you know what? I have a platform. I'm just going to start going live on LinkedIn and just try to solve some of these problems and answer these questions.
I
And
love it.
so at first it was a little bit less formal than what I'm doing now,
hmm
and then it's evolved into this. And then I started to dig into our network, and also I want to do a great job at promoting my friends and my clients. Like you're a client. Like I met you through my sister-in-law who works used to work with your wife,
Correct.
and we built a great relationship. And then I've been following you over time, and Wake Oasis was born. And I honestly, for selfish reasons, I want to know more about it. And then instead of me giving you a phone call, this is our phone call actually to kind of catch up, and we'll, tell the world on what you're
I'm
doing.
here. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love it. It's funny. We've heard a lot of these pandemic stories, and I'm kind of an eternal optimist, and so I look at it and I say, well, how do I this is the situation that we're in. This is the hand that we're dealt. How do we make it better? And I think, it sounds like you did that with the podcast. How do you create something that you can help other people? And one of the things that we did during the pandemic, I was home doing the remote school. I've got three kids. My youngest was in kindergarten. My middle son was in the fifth grade. My oldest was just starting high school, so freshman in high school. And so I was home with them, trying to manage, the coffee shop business that we have, as well as doing remote school and just managing life just in general. And we thought, well, there's got to be a path that we can have a business model that we can take people from from zero, essentially from the couch to be a coffee shop owner, with as few hurdles as possible to try to make it as easy as possible for them. And so that's really where the idea was spawned from, is that it's really challenging to start a business. How can we make it easier for people? And so with that goal in mind, we sat down and we kind of, okay, well, what would this look like? What would we offer? How would we go about doing this? Like, what are the problems that I've run into in trying to launch and start a business? Okay, well, how do we try to solve for those problems? And so you're never going to remove risk. You're never going to remove all the problems. But if you can take it from, 100 problems down to 25, if you can lessen the burden on people and help them get started a lot faster, make it easier, and help them get up to generating revenue and being competent coffee shop owners faster, to me, that was our goal, and that's what we've been working really hard to try to push.
Got it, got it. So Paul, real quick, tell us who you are.
My name
And
is
we're
Paul
gonna piggy
Peterson.
off of that story too.
Yeah, my name is Paul Peterson. I'm the CEO and founder of Wake Oasis Coffee. Our coffee shops actually started back in 2008 in Apex, North Carolina. We have in the process, we're in the process of growing right now. We're going through site selection process in Virginia Beach, Wilmington, different parts of the Triangle area, as well as in talks in Greensboro and Charleston and other cities throughout North and South Carolina and Virginia. We're really focusing on these three states right now. We're again located out of Apex, North Carolina, which is right outside of Raleigh. So it's the Research Triangle area of our RDU. And the thought is we want to start with these three states. We want to make sure that we can deliver amazing service to our franchisees. We want to be able to focus on quality products, menu selections, a repeatable process that allows a coffee shop owner to generate revenue and have a sustainable business model. And so that's what we're focusing on. And it's we run our day-to-day shops as well, but we're also focusing on this new aspect, which I think is really wonderful. And we've created a new business model that I think will work out well for a lot of people who are really interested in getting into coffee shop ownership.
That's awesome. I can't wait to get into to that piece. So
Of course.
let's start back in 2008 though.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, I'm in the mortgage industry, and I care about my clients and housing and such. And so I think about too, as I help people with home ownership, they're always looking for these amenities, and coffee seems to be one of the amenities, and
Mhm.
having a shop to go to. Like back in 2008, were you thinking that way? Like, why did you start a coffee shop back then? Like, what was the what was the reason for doing so?
So I about 5 years ago, I bought the coffee shop. There
Okay.
was one location at the time, and I was actually working for a university down here, top 10 business school, and it was had a higher level position there, and just decided I was not happy doing what I was doing. Um, I had hit a point where I thought that I wasn't adding value to people's lives. I was going from putting out one fire to another fire to another fire, and I'd come home from the day. I thought, man, all I did is put out fires. I really didn't move the ball forward. I really didn't feel like I was adding meaningful to, community, society, etc. So really sat down and thought about, okay, well, what's a way that I can get involved in the community? What is a way that I feel like I can participate and kind of be a meaningful contributor? And so the coffee shop came for sale, and I thought it's not exactly what I thought I would do, but a lot of the goals that I had articulated, that I had written down, when I overlaid those goals over this opportunity, it made sense. At the time, it was literally right next door to my daughter's school. It was 5 minutes from my house. I could be involved in the community. I was able to get back to more face-to-face interpersonal communication with customers and vendors and all sorts of people, and really just embed myself in the community. And to me, that was important, and that was what I wanted to do. And so about a year after that, we signed a lease on our new location. We launched that and opened it. We got it up and going 6 months before construction was done, and we were open a little bit more than 6 months before the pandemic started. And we've been fortunate that both locations have not only survived but thrived during the pandemic. One of our locations saw very, very modest decline. The other one saw increase in year-over-year sales during the pandemic. We focus on an amazing coffee experience, and that is the delicious coffee drinks and great customer service. And we really believe that if you focus on those two things and treating people well, then good things will happen. And so we put a lot of effort into that. Obviously, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that we've worked on as well, but that's really kind of a high level overview.
And tell me about your coffee shop. Like, what's it feel like being there, and then what's it look like too? Because you have a really unique look.
We do.
Um,
So we're a
yeah.
beach themed coffee shop. We think if we are kind of the anti-hipster coffee shop. You want to go in and you don't have to know the special handshake. You don't have to know the code word or the special language to be able to get your drink. You come in, you get what you want. If you don't like it, we're going to keep making it until you're happy. We want to make sure that you are, as the customer, given what you want. I mean, we really believe that there are so few places you can go in society and get 100% custom bespoke item made for you especially for $5 or less. And so when you come to our coffee shops, that's what you can get. And so everybody is special. Everybody has their own, special drink, special creation, and we can provide that level of service to them. I mean, what we've done is we've really fine-tuned our workflows. We've really fine-tuned our processes and our ingredient selection, and really drilled down to make those things as simple as possible and repeatable, but also in a way that allows you to offer that customized service for each individual person. So, yeah, that's to me, that's really important. It's really about that customer experience. How do you make people feel? And if people feel welcomed, if they feel seen, if they feel respected, if they feel valued, if they feel better after they left than when they came in, then you're doing your job. So yeah, we it's a laid back vibe. We want to have fun. We talk with our customers. We know their names, their drinks. We know where their kids go to school. We know their pets' names. It's we love doing volunteer work. We do all sorts of, we raised over 2,000 books for local kids in foster care just through January and February. We do book bag drives. We do a fun run that we raise a lot of food and money for the local food pantry. And all throughout the year, we're just doing fun stuff to really be that community coffee shop. And that's what we're, through our franchise training program, teaching other people how they can do that and own their own shop and then be that community person and embed themselves.
So let's talk about that then.
Of course.
That's a great way to get into it. So we often hear the word pivot. I don't think you really pivoted because you kept your foundation of having these coffee shops open. You've expanded, right?
Correct.
And so tell us about like that, like how that all happened. Like where did you get the bright idea to now? You're talking about site selection. I want to know more about that and what that looks like and means. But like how that piece occur for you, Paul, to start with the would you call it franchising?
Yeah. And well, it started with an idea. And so, I brought in my business partner. His name's Jeff Voita. He's been in the coffee industry on both the retail side, retail being a coffee shop owner. And then he transitioned to the back of the house. So supplies, logistics, coffee roasting, things like that. So he and I sat down probably August of 2020 and said, what's the coffee industry going to look like after this? What's going to survive? What's not going to survive? How do we help people navigate this? How do we get them in a position where we can create these coffee shop owners and give them a path to essentially realizing the American dream and becoming a small business owner and developing that entrepreneurial spirit that so many people already have. They just don't know how to let it ferment and get it out. And so, we thought, well, one of the problems that a lot of people really have is finding a location, finding a contractor, finding an architect, designing a workflow, coming up with equipment selection, coming up with menus, recipes, all of these things that before you even flip the sign from closed to open, you have just a wealth of things that you have to do before you even get to that point. And so what we did is we thought, well, one of the problems that we can try to solve is come up with a standalone drive-through. And one of the easiest ways was to utilize storage shipping containers. And so we found a local architect named Steve Hall, who's amazing. And we've been working with him to develop the full-scale construction documents. And we're out to bid right now with the contractor. And so we've got the team set up. We're going to be starting construction here shortly. But what this does is it essentially takes the back of the house space for a coffee shop, puts it into these shipping containers in a colorful, fluid format that is easily able to be rolled out into many locations. And what I say by that, I mean, there are a lot of locations out there. It's got a smaller footprint. The building itself on the inside is about 320 square feet. The exterior footprint is about 0.15 of an acre, and it can fit on small parcels when you start talking about setbacks and buffers and things like that of a third of an acre or less. And so really you can fit on a lot of spaces that might be great locations, but that might be too small for your cookouts, your Chick-fil-A, or some of the other larger national brands. And so it allows you to really kind of swim in a different direction than other people are swimming, and really with kind of more surgical strikes, try to find areas that other people aren't able to take advantage of. And the other thing that's really cool about it is that through our process, we've been able to keep construction costs down. So everything else in the industry, construction costs are booming. We've been able to keep our construction costs down. So the cost of our building is under $100,000. You can go out and through the site selection process, you can find nice parcels of real estate that you can buy. And it allows you to not only develop a coffee shop asset from a real estate perspective, but also a coffee shop business that can cash flow. So through doing that, you can actually develop two businesses at the same time, which I think is really cool. One of the other fun aspects about it is that because the shipping containers, I mean, they're meant to travel dozens high across the sea. So they're engineered to the nth degree. And they're very predictable as far as construction. So we're really able to dial in, every inch of pipe that we need, flooring, insulation, all that stuff to really dial in the costs and get those brought down as much as possible. I'm certain that you and other people know in the construction industry, there's the contingency, that 15% that just gets padded on to so many different projects. And and then you have change orders on top of that where you have these increase in costs. And it's because you have unforeseen conditions. And through our projects, we just don't have those unforeseen conditions. And so what we're able to do is have a predictability of pricing too. That is really good when you're looking at this from an investment perspective. Lastly, one of the really neat things about it is that versus traditional construction, we have what's called a concurrent construction model, which means that we're going to develop our site work and develop and build the building at the exact same time, which means that we're actually having a more efficient project schedule. And then what we do is we marry the two up later on in the process. And so, it takes 2 or 3 months to do the site. And during the same time, we build this. Once we marry it up, it takes about 2 weeks to finish everything and get going versus a more traditional construction schedule where you really have things that are done in series. So you might have like your site work, your foundation, your exterior, your interior, your trades work, all the way down. And so you have this longer cycle. And really all that length means that's how long it's going to take for you to be able to start generating revenue. And so if we can shorten that up and have construction that costs less in a real estate parcel that somebody owns, and then they're able to start generating revenue faster in a really cool concept with delicious coffee, amazing customer service and menu selection, ingredients, and all that other stuff, then we just think that's a winning combination. And that's what we've been fortunate to be able to, bring people in on our vision.
And so, we say go. We want to engage with Wake Oasis Coffee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you'll help me stand all this up?
Correct. Yep. We have so me personally, and we also have a team that will work with you. So we have a real estate expert who's an expert in commercial real estate. He's essentially our tenant representative who will go out there on the market. He understands our program. He understands the market. He'll go out there and find amazing locations that we can have conversations about and then try to select one that's going to work best for the franchisee. We have a marketing team that's going to help you through the grand opening and through the large promotional push to get launched and get open. We have an architect who's going to help solve site problems. We have an engineering team to help develop it. We have a contractor already selected on site who can help develop the site. So all of this team has already been put together so that once somebody says go, we start giving everybody their marching orders and we all start pulling towards that opening. Once you open, I'm sorry, let me just back up. Prior to even opening, we bring you and your key personnel on site to our locations, to one of our coffee shop locations. And we also have a full training center set up where we can bring people to, and we essentially teach them how to be a coffee shop owner. So there are some people, and everybody starts at a different place, right? So you might have somebody who really knows a lot about coffee, but knows nothing about balance sheets and P&L statements and, how to read a bank statement, how to pay bills on time, all of those things. So we're really going to back it up and teach them those things. The flip side is you might have people who have business experience. They understand the P&Ls, the finances, the accounting statements, all those other things, but might not know how to run a coffee shop. So our program, the training program that we have set up is really kind of like a coffee shop MBA, where we teach them everything that they would need to get launched from the operations side all the way through to the financial side. And what this does is it really gets them launched in a way where they can feel confident to move forward. And through that process, we know that there are going to be some people who are going to need a little bit more handholding, and we're there to help them through that and teach them how they can analyze their business, how they can look at their numbers, how they can maybe tweak a few things to get a little bit better, how they should be managing their labor, all of those things. And, that's part of the reason, we've even structured our franchise royalty fee based on that, where there's a tiered setup for the first 6 months, because we know there are some inefficiencies built in when you first launch your business. So we're going to work with you through those first few months to make sure that you can manage through those efficiencies and really give you all the consulting that you need. Lastly, just on top of that, throughout this whole process, our goal is to help you generate as much revenue as possible. So anytime we're available for business consulting, coffee shop consulting. It could be from a menu perspective. It could be a customer service perspective. You could have a hiring related question. One of the things we like to say between myself and my partner, if there's a mistake to be made, we've made it. And so we have a lot of ways that we can help people and provide them the guidance to be able to do better. But at the end of the day, it's still your business. It's still your small business. It's still going to be your baby. And so, we have, obviously we have standards that have to be met to protect, the interest of everybody. But the cool thing is there's an opportunity for people to really kind of take this platform and then decide, okay, well, what does that mean for a community coffee shop in your community? And that's what's fun about it, is that there is just an opportunity for some customization, which I think is neat.
So I have a sort of two questions.
Of course.
The first one is, and then just see if you can hang on to this pushback. Like, what kind of pushback have you got? Number one, and then number two, you answered in the order that you like. Number two, because I know there's different jurisdictions and people move faster or slower in different areas. Like, what's the common number of days or months, so to speak, to get, from the time we say go until my coffee shop is operational? So the first part, what kind of pushback are you getting? And then the second piece is like, how long on average does it generally take to go from start to finish?
Yeah, I think the start to finish, it'll take about 6 to 12 months. If you already have a location that's picked out, and you come to us and you say, I've got this amazing location and we can vet that location and it's something that's going to work, 6 to 12 months. And that includes your design, your permit, construction, get everything set up, get on site, and get open. 12 months is going to be, there's a little bit of extra time in there. So that assumes that you don't have a location picked out. And so we're going to go do site visits. We're going to analyze a particular geographic area, develop a matrix based on our criteria for all different types of different locations. We'll make a decision and kind of whittle it down to a manageable number, 3 to 5. And then we'll physically drive the sites and we'll go take a look. Throughout that time, we'll have conversations with the city, zoning, the planning department. We'll have conversations with the people who are selling the spaces or doing the ground rent or the lease. And then what we'll do is we'll, whittle it down even further. And if there's one, most viable location, then we'll put in a letter of intent on that one and start moving forward. If there are 2 or 3, we'll put together a letter of intent on 2 or 3. And then as we're going through that process, we'll really make a decision and see, okay, well, is there one site that's going to be more optimal? And we will look at everything from, ingress, egress. How easy is it for customers to pass through? Is there one location that has less friction for customer acquisition than another? So we look at that. We're going to look at traffic counts, evening traffic counts, day traffic counts, how many businesses are around, what's the population, daytime versus weekend versus evening time. So we're going to look at all these different facets to see how we can help you pick the best location. We actually don't pick the location for you, though. What we do is we provide the expert. We help provide consulting. But at the end of the day, the business owner, the franchisee, is the one who selects the location. We do have veto power just to make sure it's not going in somewhere that would be, maybe detrimental to the brand or frankly, that would set the franchisee up for failure in the future. It doesn't help anybody for them to select a bad location. And so, but that would be, if we do our job right throughout this whole process, we shouldn't even get to that point. Going back to the pushback, I think really it's just everything else in society right now. I think what we've had is just general uncertainty. People start coming out of the pandemic. Everybody handles uncertainty a little bit different. What are supply chain? What's that looking like? And then we explain, okay, well, supply chain issues are real, but one of the things that we have that other people don't have, if you go through the independent route, we have essentially one-stop shopping. So we handle all of the supply chain issues for people. So they go on through an easy online ordering process and order pretty much every single product that would go out the door. So that way, yes, there are supply chain problems, but we absorb that for the coffee shop owner, for the Wake Oasis franchisee. Then they start, there's questions about staffing. Staffing are real problems. And then what we do is we have this conversation about, okay, well, through the training process, here's how we teach our culture. Here's our management style. We have a more, servant-oriented leadership and management style versus kind of a top-down dictatorial management style. So we talk about all of these things and really, our cycle of management that we'd really try to teach people. We talk about, shipping and pricing, all these other things. But really, staffing and logistics are the two big things that people have talked about. And then we just try to have these conversations with them, like, hey, these are real issues, and here's how we're solving these problems. Here's how we'll train you to help solve these problems. But as we start going through this process, there will always be problems that arise. And I think that's one of the, at least in my opinion, there is no expectation that there won't be problems, but there should be an expectation that the team that you're working with will in good faith help you solve those problems. And to me, that's what we're trying to impart to people, that, I don't know what the problems are going to be 5 years from now, but we'll help you solve them. And this is what we're going to work through. This is how we're working through it now. So yeah, that's been our approach.
This is awesome. And the whole time, man, I'm tapping my feet, Paul. I'm like, Shawn, stick to mortgages. Shawn, stick to mortgages. Don't
It's all
open a
good.
coffee
This is,
shop. Don't
I mean,
open a
this,
coffee shop.
yeah, it's all very interesting. And yeah, it's a very fun conversation.
How many cups of coffee do you drink a day?
I have, in the morning, I have 2 12-ounce cups of coffee. I drink one, and then my morning routine. I wake up, I drink 1 cup of coffee, and I do about 20 minutes worth of yoga. I get a second coffee cup, and I take my dog for about a 40-minute walk. And then I get home around 7:15 and start make sure my second kid and then make sure my third kid get out the door on the bus. So my oldest daughter, the 15-year-old, her bus comes at 6:25.
Oh, wow.
So I make sure that she gets out the door first. So yeah, and then sometime during the afternoon, I might have a second one, or I'm sorry, a third one or a fourth one. But we've got some other fun drinks. I'll drink hot tea, iced tea. We have chai. So we'll chai tea. Sometimes I'll just get hot milk, before bedtime. So I try to mix it up a little bit.
And do you take it black, the coffee?
It really just depends. Right now I've got black coffee in here. You've got our fancy cups that we have right here. So we have really fun branding, which is really cool. But if I can, I'll drink it black, but it just really depends on my mood. It's I'm not one of those people who thinks, you're going to ruin the coffee if you add something to it. Sometimes I like coffee by itself, and sometimes I just think coffee, just like anything else, is an ingredient. And it's like, sometimes you eat chocolate by itself, and sometimes you put chocolate over a donut or pretzels, or you mix it in with, milk and have hot chocolate. I mean, there's all different ways. And so you can eat it plain, but then you can also treat it as an ingredient into something else and make that delicious. So I'm not there are some coffee purists who are like, oh, well, this is right and this is wrong. To me, it's like, does it taste delicious to you? Then it's right.
Right. Like you said, you mentioned bespoke. I'm gonna steal that one from you as well. But so thank you for that.
Oh,
I
you're
didn't.
welcome.
I never thought of it that way. I was just thinking about a suit, or some clothing. But yeah, I think I started to drink coffee. I'll put some almond milk, unsweetened,
Mm-hmm.
or coconut milk in there. But I stopped. I used to drink coffee. It was like cocoa. Like I'd put milk and a whole bunch of sugar or syrup or
Yeah.
something in there, and it was more of a dessert sort of drink. And then I did this diet once where I cut the sugar out. It was a
Mm-hmm.
Whole30 diet, and there was no added sugar. And so um, I just stopped drinking coffee with things in it. And then I went to a coffee shop and I asked them to put almond milk in there, and I
Mm-hmm.
tasted it, And I took it back and I said, you know what? Did you guys put sugar in this? They're like, no, we just put the almond milk in. And I
Yeah.
realized that the almond milk was sweetened that they
Yeah.
put in there. And ever since then, I've been drinking like black coffee. And so I didn't realize, I always thought it would have been nasty, like it wouldn't taste that good. But you can actually taste the different textures and nodes and things like that in the coffee. And it's pretty cool.
Well, and that's what I enjoy about it. And I I personally don't have a big sweet tooth. So that's, that's, you know, that's just not my preference. And so for me, the sweetener has never been a problem, but I do enjoy mixing half and half or like a little whipped cream or something like that in there. So, yeah, it's, I just find it's just delicious to be able to add different stuff to the people's coffee drinks. And we like to come up with fun things. And I think, one of my favorite drinks that we do, and like I said, I don't have a real big sweet tooth, but I like the way that different ingredients interact together. So in the fall to winter time, we have what's called a spicy mocha. And so we just take it's espresso. It's going to be steamed milk. It's going to be the chocolate sauce that we add, which is delicious. And then we put a little bit of cayenne pepper in there.
Oh,
And it's
wow.
just enough where you get that sweetness, but then you also have that real kind of slow heat that just kind of builds from that cayenne. And it's just chilly enough outside where you're walking around where you start getting that warmth that just kind of settles up here. And so, but those are kind of the fun flavors. Then we have other stuff that we'll do. It's kind of like you get a dark chocolate and caramel with a little bit of sea salt. So we play with different ingredients so you can try to get the bitter, the sweet, and the salty all together at the same time. And just honestly, at the end of the day, it's just coffee. We're just having fun with it, and we're just trying to be playful. It's and that's kind of our approach to it. And sometimes you try things. I was playing with one the other day, last year. I was trying to make a tiramisu latte. I kept playing with it, playing with it, playing with it. At the end, I'm like, yeah, I'm not. This is not turning out the way that I want it to turn out. But then some of them turn out fantastic, and we have some amazing baristas who work for us, and they come up with amazing drinks, and that's just fun where you start having these people, your baristas, and they come up with these fun drinks, and you're able to turn your customers onto them because they come in and they're like, I don't know, I've had these other things, but what do you recommend? And they can come up with something really cool. My oldest, who's 15, she's been working at the coffee shop for about a year, and she's always coming up with different fun things and trying to turn customers onto them and sharing it and taking it to her friends and doing other stuff. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
This is awesome, man. I'm proud of you too. Like I know I was saying earlier, you've had these corporate jobs and things like that, and I know entrepreneurship, runs in your veins. But just everybody out there that's listening, Paul's got an amazing story, where he was able to leave corporate America and he followed his passion, and turn that into a business, a
Well,
thriving
thank you.
business, and one that's doing well. So kudos to you.
Thank
Kudos to
you.
you. And I know you get a lot of support from your wife too. She's good
Oh, my
people.
wife's amazing. Yeah, she's the best teammate.
Yeah, yeah. And so before we wrap up, couple things. What can we do to help you? You're in North Carolina. Folks, look up Wake Oasis Coffee. But what can we do to help you? Number one, Paul, and then number two, how can we find Wake Oasis Coffee?
I think one of the first things is, hey, thank you for listening. We love to be able to tell our story to people. We love to be able to, we think coffee is fun. We're in the coffee business. But what I really said, we're actually in the people business, and coffee is what we sell. And so, hey, we just appreciate people listening. If you have the opportunity to share your story with share our story with somebody else, that's important to us. We're in the process of growing up into Virginia. Hopefully up into Maryland soon. And so as we're coming to your area, just look out for us. And if you're interested in becoming a franchisee or getting in, on the ground floor in your particular geographic area, just reach out and we can have a conversation. We're real easy to find. It's Wake Oasis Coffee on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, www.wakeoasiscoffee.com, Wake Oasis Coffee on Twitter. So Wake Oasis Coffee is going to be our handle. Anywhere you can find us, that's where we'll be. And, if you have any questions, you can reach out. It's real simple. It's paul@wakeoasiscoffee.com. Say hi. Let me know if you like the podcast. If you have any lingering questions, we can answer those. And we've even talked to other people who are like, yeah, I'm not interested in franchising, but I really want to open my own independent shop. We talk to people about that too. Our thing the more coffee shops out there that are serving quality products, meeting the needs of our community, the better. And so we love to be able to help people do that as well. So if we have some resources we can share to kind of guide them in a direction, we'll try to help them do that. So yeah, those are the two main ways.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. Like, ladies
No,
and gentlemen, we got to
thank
get.
you. I appreciate this platform to be able to tell our story. It's really generous of you to be able to set this up and take your time to allow us this small little window and to be able to have this conversation.
Yeah, well, like you said, it's about, being in the people business, providing resources. And for me, I'm grateful. Like you're a client like of mine, for, years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't help you in North Carolina. We're not licensed there, but however, it's just good to keep in touch with you. And I want to support everyone and add as much value to the community as possible. And so, no, this has been great. But before we go, um, Paul, you get one person, and you get
Mm-hmm.
one question. Who would it be, and what would you ask?
Yeah, it's such an interesting question because there's just so many good people to ask questions of. But I think I think the first Peterson who came here, which was in 1899, came over from Sweden, settled in Jacksonville, Illinois, which is actually where my 3 or 4 generations of Petersons stayed there up until my grandmother passed in 2001. So, but I think I would just want to ask, what was it like to come here? And I think it's really just, one of the questions I've always wondered is kind of like, well, what was it like when you came here? And if there was a way to kind of contrast, what it is now to compared to kind of what it was like then. I just think that would just be a really interesting conversation because I think there are a lot of people who, I'm making decisions today that I have no idea what the ramifications might be 125 years from now. And, you think you're doing the right things. You think you're doing things that are good for you and your family and your community, etc. At least I give people the benefit that I really think that most people are good. I think most people are trying to do the right things. And so that to me, that would be the question is, what was it like? And just to kind of understand and contrast, now versus what it was like then, because I just think that'd be very interesting.
Amazing. Thanks for that. That's that'd be a pretty cool conversation, I'm
It
sure.
would. Yeah.
To have. I would wow, it's a long time ago to kind of compare the differences like then versus now. And then I like the point that you mentioned, Paul, about the decisions that we make today. We really don't know what the impact's going to be in the future. So that was really good perspective. Thanks for that.
No,
Um,
you're very welcome. And like I said, I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity. And you create this platform, and you're generous with your time and letting other people come in and tell their story. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you, thank you. So everyone, please remain as safe and as healthy as possible as you possibly can. Listen, if there's anything that I can do in any way, shape, or form to help anyone, please don't hesitate to reach out. Like I said, just stay safe and healthy, and we'll see you next week, next Thursday at 2 o'clock. And thanks again, Paul, for your time.
Thank you very much. We'll see y'all. Have a great day.